Have you ever really thought about how you solve problems? I'm not talking about huge, complicated projects, but just the little mental puzzles your brain deals with every single day. It's not some chore. It's just what our brains do. So let's just dive right in and see how it all works. All right, quick one for you. Don't think too hard. What's the very first word that pops into your head? See? Pretty easy, right? Whatever you just came up with, the way your brain got there tells us something really important about a fundamental category of thinking. It's a little clue to how we make sense of everything. So what just happened in your brain? What kind of process just fired off in there? Let's actually break that little mental workout down. The answer, of course, was kitten. Your brain saw dog and puppy, and just instantly, without you even asking it to, it recognized the relationship, adult animal to young animal. Then it just applied that exact same pattern to cat and landed on kitten. It's simple, it's elegant, and it happens incredibly fast. But here's the thing, that's just one type of problem. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because once you realize that almost every problem you'll ever face falls into one of three basic categories, you start to see things a whole lot differently. You literally become a better thinker. You know, knowing what kind of problem you're dealing with is like having the right key for a lock. It's the first and most important step. So let's get into them. Okay, so this first one, this is exactly what we just did with that cat and kitten puzzle. The answer isn't about moving things around. It's all about that aha moment, that flash of insight when you suddenly see the hidden connection, the secret rule that ties it all together. Now, this second type is totally different. With these, all the pieces you need are right there in front of you, but they're all jumbled up. Think about a jigsaw puzzle, or maybe an anagram. Your job is just to find the one correct way to arrange them. Okay, your turn again. Try this one. All the letters for a single English word are right there. You just have to put them in the right order. Go on, give it a shot. So, did you get it? The word was handout. Your brain was just rapidly shuffling through different combinations until, click, one of them made sense. That is a textbook problem of arrangement. And that brings us to our third and final category, problems of transformation. Here, you know exactly where you're starting, and you know exactly what your goal is. The entire challenge is figuring out the right sequence of moves to get from start to finish. Think about solving a Rubik's Cube, or even just following a recipe to bake a cake. So, figuring out the type of problem is your superpower, but that's only half the battle, because a lot of the time, the biggest thing standing in the way of a solution is, well, it's us, our own brains. All right, let's talk about the 4 big mental traps that can stop our thinking dead in its tracks. Think of these as the common enemies of problem solving, and trust me, we all fall for them. First up, irrelevant information. Our brains get so easily distracted. We zoom in on details that feel really important, but are actually just noise, and they can lead us way down the wrong path. Look at this, a classic word problem. To figure out the travel time, what information here actually matters? Does it matter that the train has 12 cars? Does knowing the conductor's name is Bob help you do the math? Of course not. But our brains are wired to find patterns, and we can easily get bogged down in all this useless fluff. Okay, these next two, they're a little trickier. People mix them up all the time. But the difference between them is actually super important for unlocking creative solutions. Let's just break this down. A mental set. That's when you're stuck on a method, a way of doing things that worked in the past. You keep trying the same old approach even when it's not working anymore. Functional fixedness is similar, but it's about being stuck on an object's usual job. You see a hammer, and you can only think nail. You don't see that it could also be a paperweight. So one is about your process, the other is about your tools. And this last trap is one we build all by ourselves. We add imaginary rules, we draw invisible boxes around the problem that make it way harder, sometimes even impossible to solve. Take this famous puzzle. Almost everyone gets stuck because they add a rule that isn't there. They assume the lines have to stay inside the square of dots, but that's a limit you put on yourself. The real solution requires you to literally draw outside the lines that you imagined. So, we've identified the kinds of problems, we've seen the traps our mind set for us, so now what? How do we use this? Let's put together a toolkit you can actually use. Here is the single most important thing to take away from all this. It's really simple. Awareness. That's it. Awareness is the key. Just knowing this stuff exists makes you a dramatically better problem solver. So here's a super simple 3-step process. First, identify. What kind of problem am I looking at? Is it structure, arrangement, or transformation? Second, watch out. Am I falling into a mental trap? Am I stuck on an old method or focused on useless info? And finally, third, reevaluate and solve. Step back and break through those imaginary walls you built around the problem. And look, this isn't just some abstract intellectual exercise. This is a practical, real-world framework that you can apply to anything, from fixing a leaky faucet to tackling a tough conversation at work. So I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. Armed with this new toolkit, what's one challenge, big or small, that you're going to approach with a completely fresh perspective?